Welcome back again to the Unlearning Curve. This is our fourth session, so we know it's going to be a bit unhinged as things go. And joining me today, I'm Stuart Delony. I am joined by JD Forehand and Karl the Great, also known as El Guapo, amongst this group. And if you want to reach out to us, the unlearningcurvepodcast at gmail.com, because we talk about lots of topics around here. It's anything from stuff in the news, mental health, deconstruction, ripping on the church, and anything else we can figure out what we want to rip on. I don't know. We kind of free flow it. And today, this last one, we're doing kind of a let's figure out what the hell we're talking about topic. But it's essentially that it does feel for a lot of us that the world is on fire right now, that things don't make sense. And certain things, norms that we used to be able to depend on are being broken. And it seems that, the world is on fire. And the United States is just getting dumber and dumber and crazier as we're in this. And since we do talk about mental health, a lot of folks are struggling with this. A lot of folks are struggling with rage and anger and outrage. But at the same time, I think we have to learn to, and that's what I wanted to talk about is helping us to walk through what's happening, what we can and can't control. And the fact that just getting mad online all the time doesn't really do a whole lot either. And there's probably better ways for us to walk this out, whether intellectually, socially, somatically, therapeutically, and Thoughts, guys, on how we can survive and stay sane in the craziness that we're dealing with right now?
We were talking about schemas earlier, and sometimes it helps me to frame stuff right. And I don't know if this is good or bad, but I just say, this is what happens when evangelicals get their way. And I know they'd probably say they're not. You know, they don't totally get their way on abortion. They don't totally get their way on marijuana and things like that they demonize for brown people. But this is what happens when the moral majority takes over and has a eugenicist as their psychiatrist, and when people just invest everything in power. You know? And we got to be the most powerful. We got to be the biggest group. We got to be right, and God's on our side, so we're going to do it. This is what happens, and we've seen it now. And to be honest, I would say, personally for me, it all hit me last week and I crashed. I mean, just a spiral for about a week. And Laura and I had to work through that. And now I'm looking at counseling, more therapy and medicine for that. But also I need to work through it. And there's a lot of shit that happens there. But someone mentioned, it was in the last thing of what can we control? What can I do, really? I mean, sometimes I look at, I'm trying to change the world, and I rage against everything out there, including Christianity, right? And then a year later, I look at, did I do anything by doing that? I mean, people appreciate sometimes that I speak up and things like that, but I can't let my whole purpose be in whether that succeeds or not, because very little of it I control, and very little of it changes my town that I live in. But what changes the town that I live in is we communicate with a ardent Trump supporter across the street and still love and respect and cherish that friendship. So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm kind of foggy in this discussion right now. I'm trusting you guys to carry it.
Oh, good. We're in bad hands. No, I hear what you're saying, Karl, and I think it's so easy to. And I've had to learn just to do less news, less reading, less engaging the things in this, because it is important for us to understand what's happening and not like bury our heads in the sand. I think you need to be awake and aware of what is going on, but at the same time, I can get in doom scroll loops of just like news wise, just reading and deeper and getting more and more upset, and just realizing that okay, and now, what did that give me in the end besides just anxiety and anger? But that's not helpful. I just end up feeling more drained and worn out afterwards. But I think that, I think sometimes it's going to talk to other people, reminding yourself that there are other humans, that, it's easy to demonize people, and it's fun, especially when we're angry, and it feels good. Reminding ourselves that, there's other people out there in our community, and there's people that need us, and there's people that are hurting right now.
And if they're ignorant and confused, that should invoke empathy, not anger, I think. Maybe anger's on the top of it or something, but
I have a hard time when someone's holding a gun, being like, oh, I need to have empathy for this guy right now.
Yeah.
He's feeling afraid when he's going to shoot me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get what you're saying, Karl.
True.
I'm just being a dick.
Yeah.
Because that's like my default mode right now. I feel like where I am and with the way the world is.
Well, I think part of it is also realizing who are the people that are in power. Because
Yeah.
I think if you're talking about, like an ICE agent or a police officer, military member, like, those people do have, like, power, and they are being encouraged to use it, like, in a way that's, like, repressive.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, even your, like, rabid Trump supporter, in a lot of cases, is just someone who's, like, just deeply petrified of, like, what's happening. And so they're just lashing out. I mean, it's not to, like, justify the things that they do or say, but it is something that's just, like, I don't know. Like you were saying, Dad, like, dealing with your neighbors on a day-to-day basis, like, even just interacting with them in a positive way, even if you don't discuss politics or push back on their ideology and stuff, can be useful. And certainly... and in any case, like, just asking questions and, like, trying to engage with those people is probably better than doing nothing. Maybe not for your own mental health, I guess, but, like, at least for theirs, hopefully. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's really tough. But like, for me, like, again, I talked about the last one, or to whatever. Anyway, at some point, I mentioned that, like, this is something I want to talk about because I do think it's, like, really important to, like, interact and befriend people that are, like, have very different ideologies than you. Because as frustrating as it is, and as sometimes it doesn't help, it doesn't work, and so I guess that can feel like you're kind of, like, spinning your tires, but I think overall it definitely makes a difference. And if we really want to, like, make any sort of change, like, you have to change hearts and minds, like, as trite and cliche as that is. Like, it's just reality of the situation.
I think some of it too, I think, like you're saying, JD, because it's, if we can step back and be able to see others as just human again in many ways, I think that can also help remind us and refocus us that none of us, the folks we're arguing with are not the systems of power that we're dealing with right now too. So it just kind of feels just like it's ancient Rome. It's like, let the peasants fight it out amongst themselves down there, and then we're angry at the guy that's fighting it out with us, not realizing that, like, why are we here to begin with? Like, why are we in this shit situation to begin with? Because, we have big problems with empire right now, whether it's governmental or just capitalistically. There's a problem. And I think that for those in power to keep us fighting in the small ways that we are right now, and even though I know I'm not saying ICE and all this stuff is petty, but it's what is going on while this is happening. You know, I feel like people are condensing power. They're condensing all of this, and we can't do anything about it. And at some point, it will topple itself. I think when we all start to wake up and realize that it's not Republican or Democrat or conservative or liberal, we're all getting screwed by the businesses and those that are just making tons of money off us.
For sure.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But then that takes a big change, like, in our consumption habits and all this. Again, it's like, it's stuff that people want the simple solutions. They want the easy answers, and I think it's tough for people. Like,
I need my convenience. Yeah.
When it's like one of the biggest things is just, like, if, like, I guess one thing I tell, like, a lot of my, like, liberal friends in the United States is, like, listen, if you want to have an equitable world, you're probably going to live in a world that doesn't have overnight Amazon shipping. So, is that something you're willing to give up? Because I think for a lot of people it's not. Yeah, I think for a lot of people it's not. And it's just like, okay, then, like, that's something that you have to deal with. Because, like, you say you want this, like, improvement, but you're, like, the current world we live in with, like, this level of consumption is not tenable.
No.
And it's also not good. I mean, it's not good.
We were talking last night about how it's like $12 a month you can get your Walmart stuff delivered also. And my meals, and bring it to the door, but don't talk to me.
And listen, some of that is, like, I get it. Like, you know, like, there are people that can't leave their house, or, like, you know, that need things delivered. Like, I'm all for that stuff. But, like, yeah, it's like we have this, like, deep desire for community, but, like you're saying, like, we don't even want to talk to the fucking Uber driver. Like, we cannot engage with people anymore. Like, this is, like, series of photographs that I'm working on right now, but I take the MRT, the subway here every day, and you just get on there and just everyone is just like fucking phone, like yeah, just like glued to their phones, like. And again, me too. Like a lot of times I'm also on my phone or I have my headphones in or whatever, but like those are things we like. If we want to improve things, that's shit we have to change. We have to be willing to like literally talk to our neighbor, talk to our delivery driver, whatever. Like we, it's not. It feels nice like in the moment to avoid any sort of like negative interaction by just like staring at a device or like being addicted to your phone or whatever. But like it's not. There's not any real change that's going to come from that. Like yeah, great, you posted some fucking like shithead meme on Twitter or whatever, like nothing changed. Possibly you made things worse. So
I think because Karl, you'd mentioned having having like a mental health spiral recently, and I talked about having my own struggles recently too. And with that, JD, like after I had to like I just had to be like in a space of like quiet, low stimulation for like a couple days, where it was just like my nervous system was wrecked, but stepping back into it, I would start to notice how my just hopping on my phone, how much that would just start spinning me up, and I could feel the anxiety hopping back in and everything. It's just this. You know, it's this article and this, and I could feel it in myself, and I've had to, after I had like a couple day detox from it, I've had to like keep it over here, and then we'll get back to it, because I think it's an anxiety machine for us as well. We constantly need something, like we constantly need stimuli. And if we don't, we're not getting our dopamine hit, and it can make you feel like it makes people agitated, angry. But yeah, for anxiety wise,
even with that, helps. Like I used to, like one of my, it was like favorite, but also like would give me like, my point being is that it would also give me like hella anxiety. Is like I used to argue with people on Facebook and stuff all the time, and I had to stop because I would just be like thinking about, what are they going to reply to me? Like, I'm going to say, like, it was just, but it would give me like anxiety and like, it was just terrible. And so eventually I was just like, yeah, I don't know. I've basically gotten to the point where I'm like, and I'm not saying this is like what everyone should do, but for me, it's just like, I'm not going to engage with people except for in a very, very positive way online. Like if I see someone that I want to like be like, hey, fuck you. Like, I hope your house is on CNN front page tomorrow. Where I used to say that, now I will say nothing. Or I will say like, hey, I hope you have a great day. Like happy best friends day or some shit. Like I just have like I've also talked about this with like some of my students is like, they're like, you're so positive. I'm just like, I have decided in like my relationship with the people I care about, and I guess in general, I've just decided like I'm going to be radically positive, and I'm just going to like be as good, like just put out as many like positive vibes as possible, because like especially when we're talking about the internet, but just in general, like there's just so much negativity out there that I just like I don't think it's worth it. And so yeah, I don't know, I've kind of gotten away from that, but I don't know, I also do understand like some people like enjoy that kind of like fight, and there possibly could be something useful in that, like getting people's goat or like going after them online and stuff, especially people in power. But not my job is what I've decided.
I guess ultimately what you're saying is there's better ways to spend time constructively.
It depends.
In many ways.
There are certain people that maybe their best spent time is just like arguing online. I don't know. I don't think it's like useful for me, I guess. But like, yeah. I think there
at
are
least
better
it keeps
ways.
Them contained. They're contained.
There are some people that probably, it's probably fine. Like, okay, go online and argue with bots for a couple hours. Like, just leave everyone else alone. But yeah, I don't know. I think in general, like, I definitely think there's a lot better uses of your time in terms of like actually building like a real community as opposed to like shit posting on Twitter or whatever.
One of the things that gets me, and I found like at first, like I've seen several accounts like this, but I saw one on it was on Instagram, and all they do is like it's just two still images they post every day. Is he alive? Or is he still alive? And then you flip it and it's no. Yes, he's still alive. So we're all talking about when the orange man will leave the earth. And biology's just not working fast enough. But what I also have to remind myself, it's easy for us to focus our anger and disgust onto a disgusting human being. But take one away, There's just going to be, I mean, I feel like there's a
Yeah.
factory of folks, like just put another one into place. And so I think that
Power vacuum.
I think it's us learning to reframe like some of our anger at the systems as instead of the people, or the systems that are propping these things up that are allowing this to happen. Instead of, even though I feel like Trump is a piece of shit. I think he's a terrible human being. If there was a hell, it would kind of make me feel good to know that he's going there, even though I know it's not. You kind of said that before. But again, that's gross. That's gross on me. I don't need to feel good about that. I think the best thing would be for me to not think of him. But in those situations, I don't know. I just feel like we're in a weird situation where there's not simple answers to get us out of where we're at.
That's what they say.
No, there aren't.
Feed a narcissist is take away his audience. That's the general consensus. Just don't replay what he says.
But it's clearly like that has not been figured out yet, especially by the media. Well, it's hard not to do because it does mean something when the globular president of the United States says something. Like he's one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful man in the world. So like it's a big deal. But yeah, there's also like it is that kind of like delicate balance of like finding, and same thing with like whatever it is in your life. Like I think that's something a lot of people need to like hone in on, is like, is this worth my energy? Is this a fruitful thing to pursue? Because I feel like as I've gotten older, that's been one thing where I've just been like, there's a lot of areas in my life that I used to spend a lot of energy on that I just don't think I need to spend. If that changes, I should be, evaluating that and like trying to maybe increase or decrease based on like what I evaluated at the time. But like, there's a lot of stuff that I wasted a lot of energy on, like caring about or worrying about, that like in reality is nonsense. Like there's no reason for me to be thinking about that, wasting my mental energy or like giving myself anxiety over. So yeah, that's been one thing I've been really trying to push myself.
I can also see like where we're like, it's easy when we look to leaders to fix things.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we've seen Trump has come in and disrupted stuff as he does, and we want someone to bring it back to normal. But I think the place we're at is not terribly horrible right now in a weird sadistic way, because I feel like we're starting to see kind of the way these systems are and they work. I mean, things aren't nice or pretty. We're seeing people for what they believe and how they're acting this out right now. And I feel like to simply think that we're going to have like a magical cure that's going to bring us back to whatever normal is, that's a sedative. I feel like that's a sedative for us. Actually, like we're at a point now where I think people are angry because they're seeing this is bad. This shit that's happening, it's bad. But in other times, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we've invaded countries before and people didn't feel so bad about it. I mean, again, this is stupid. We're doing it in the dumbest way possible. I mean, other people have done it in less dumb ways and it was still just, I think my point is that we want life to go back to the way it's supposed to be. And that's just a lie.
So can I say, we have two pastors and two ex-pastors and a pastor's son, and we've all three deconstructed. We feel like that's changed our life for the better. Mental health is better. Theologically, we think we're better, broader worldview, lots of things like that, right? So we think it was beneficial. How could I help other pastors? And I've been racking my brain about that, trying to think back, what was it? I know it was Paul Young a little bit. I know it was other, ex-pastors or progressive pastors or something that kind of helped move my thinking. How could I contribute to that without, like we're talking about, not trying to win battles that I can't even affect much? How can I change it? And how could I enable people to do what I've done without trying to hard evangelize them, which never works?
I think it's community in questions. Like you have to build some sort of understanding community with those people, and then you just have to ask them questions. Like it's the same thing we were talking about earlier with helping helping people with like issues of mental illness or whatever, like incorrect thinking, issues with schemas, etc. Like they to some degree people have to arrive to those conclusions on their own, or on their own, right? But you can lead them to that, right? You can lead a horse to water becoming a drink. Like you can get them in that headspace. And I think a lot of that can be just being open, being like, hey, I'm here for you. Again, building the community, building the relationship to the point where they're going to go, okay, I trust this person. And then just being like, hey, like, and being honest with people, like, hey, asking questions, this logic doesn't seem to add up. Like, how do you square that circle kind of thing? Like, I think a lot of that, if coming from a place of love, I think is the way that you get to that in a lot of cases. It's not a silver bullet, but I think it's what I've found for me that works best.
I agree with that, because it made me think of just I'm in a guys group, and when we started the group, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, I was the ex-pastor, and I asked some guys if they wanted just to ask questions with deconstruction and other stuff, and a bunch of random people showed up to a closed group that we still keep doing today. And right now, none of those guys are still pastors.
Doing end time stuff, right?
It was good end time stuff. I convinced them I was the true leader, and they left Jesus for me. No, but it's like what you're saying, JD. It was just giving people space to ask the questions they couldn't ask in church for pastors. They knew the questions were too dangerous. So I think part of it, Karl, is like what you twofold, because I feel like you're almost asking yourself this question.
I am.
How do I do this?
You're right.
So the first is continue to be yourself and speak and write, and that voice needs to be out there, because then it gives a credibility for them to be able to listen to you, or say, I don't want this guy. And then you don't need those folks either. And then I think that's inviting spaces for people to ask questions, but like safe spaces. Like JD says, community. Like safe spaces where folks don't feel like they're going to be judged by asking these questions. Because it's hard for pastors, because we were all taught we have to have the answers for everything. And asking questions was always bad in church. But it takes time and space, and you'll find, I don't know. You've got a good voice, Karl. I like what you're writing, and I think that just you being yourself and your journey should attract people. It shouldn't be about PR.
Well, and the other thing is, you may not know the amount of people that like may glom onto that, or like change something and then never tell you about it. Like for instance, like this is kind of a side tangent, but like with my like doing photography and stuff, like the amount of people that you find 5-10 years later that are just like, oh my God, like I like, you know, look at every picture you take. Like, I love your photography, and you're like, you don't like my post, you've never interacted with me, like, and they're just like, yeah, like, no, they just enjoy it from afar, or they gain something from it from afar. I think like the other part of that is like you're saying, Stuart, with like the kind of credibility thing. Part of it is, I think, that, but part of it is also just that like you continue to strengthen your voice. If you continue to question and you continue to like be critical of yourself, you'll refine that kind of the message that you're putting out. And then again, it's community. Like you have those conversations with people, and you allow. One thing I've noticed, and this is a little bit different because there's like a different dynamic with like teaching high schoolers, I guess, but like just letting people know, hey, like, again, like you were saying, Stuart, like this is a safe space, like in rewarding people for just like questioning or being like, I have this idea or whatever, and like you're like, okay, yeah, that's interesting, like that's a good point, whatever, and like just like pushing them towards that, or at least allowing them to push themselves towards that, whatever it is. Like I think that's you can get a lot of places with that, but
I think again, it's also tough. I think it's embracing
it's a lot of shit.
Yeah, it's embracing your weirdness, Karl. I'm not saying you in particular are weird, but I mean the natural inclination.
I am. No,
I mean, but like weird. We think of this, like we had made ourselves untenable for churches. You know, churches did not see, like in our questions, we were untenable. We were too weird. We were too whatever. Yeah. And just understand, once you step outside of that, it's going to be a smaller crowd that you're going to run into. It's the desert, which is your bag, baby.
Here's what
you
I
know
want.
How it is in the desert.
I want both of you guys to move here, and so that we can all go to church together.
Oh,
and stir up shit. I want to go till they kick us out. Laura won't.
It'll be the first week. I think I'll Skype in if you want, but I bet I can get kicked out in the first 10 minutes.
I thought you were asking us to come in because you were promising us some sort of a harem in the middle of the Midwest. We'll start our own thing, our own church. Yeah. Come on, Karl. We can find golden tablets in the dirt somewhere. We can come up with a prophecy. We can do whatever.
I mean, Missouri is the promised land, according to Joseph Smith. So I think that's right.
We didn't end up here, though, right? Mm-hmm. Well, it's north of St. Joe.
Kind of got ran out of town when he started.
St. Joe? Where's the place?
No, it wasn't St. Joe.
It's within an hour of here. Consider that your calling from God.
Okay.
I don't know how that relates, JD, but it is close to here.
Yeah, it's not that far. I can't remember what the exact city it was, but anyway, let's not get started on the Mormons. We could do a whole podcast on the Mormons. They're an interesting group. But I think point being is that you can definitely make it happen if you put in the work, put in the effort. I mean, at least from my personal experience, anecdotal, but I've had a lot of people like make a lot of progress, or like at least like be more open minded when you kind of just like create that sort of safe space and like have those conversations. I think that's the biggest thing. Again, I'll be trite and say what I always say, which is just like get the fuck offline, because it's such a bad place to have like real conversations. Like maybe in DMs or something like you can have, but even then it's like the conversations I've had with people like online versus like when I actually get them in person, like it's just night and day difference, because there's just too many like facial expressions, gestures, all that stuff. Like it's all just lost online. I hate text-based communication. I think it's one of the worst.
This is what's important to me, because I think this is so. JD, you're very successful in doing this, and I've watched like 80s and 90s movies. They would have like a teacher go to the inner cities and like be able to like reach these kids and tell them. My first question, and Christianity has taught me to be very specific about things that don't matter. But when you talk to them, do you turn the chair around backwards and sit like that? Is that the key? Is that the key to reaching them?
Hey there, fellow kids. How's it going?
Hey, tell me what's up. Is that the key? Oh, we got to do. Okay, well, I'll do this.
Yeah.
Hey, youth.
Hey, kids. Pat. What's up?
What's happening?
Young people. What's going on? No, what I would obviously know, okay. But I think that's it's very, it's cliche, but like, if you just go in with people, like, number one, of course, like with Dad, like you with other pastors, like you have that shared background, right? But I think like with my students specifically, but it also goes true for other people. Like if you just are yourself in most cases, like, yeah, of course, like there will be some people that are like trying to be too cool for school or whatever. Like they'll be like, oh, whatever, it's lame to talk about your feelings or whatever. But like for the most part, like people react well if you just act like a normal, like functioning human being, and you just ask people, like, because most people, here's the thing, a lot of people have fucking main character syndrome, or just like or are just like lonely. And if you just are like, hey man, tell me stuff, open up, most people will. Like a lot, I've had a lot of people who like will be like really shy, really quiet. You get that, you pull them like one-on-one into the hallway or something, and you're like, hey, what's going on, man? Like, what's the deal? And they'll tell you what the deal is. Like, but you just have to, ask. You have to build a relationship, right? You have to build trust, and then you have to ask. And then when you ask, you have to listen, and as opposed to like being, because this, especially as a teacher, like there's like the desire to like, I gotta make this into a lesson, and I gotta teach you something, and I gotta have the right words, but like the reality is, like in most cases, when I shut the fuck up Friday and let them talk, and then I process that, as opposed to just like I go, okay, yeah, like whatever, like, and I try to digest it, and then I go, all right, let's talk about this again. And then I have that time to think about it, and the next time we talk, then I've like thought through it, as opposed to just trying to give them like a platitude to make them feel better. It almost always works out better. And then again, if you say, hey, we're going to talk again next week or whatever, and then you do that, you have a relationship, right?
Yeah.
So Karl, I know you, and I think this is what you're asking, and this is what you need to do. You just need to sit him down and be like, hey, Mark Driscoll, who hurt you? And show me on the bear where they touched you, because we want to find a way to be able to reach you, Mark, because you're obviously hurting, little guy, and we want to help you to not be an asshole pastor anymore. And is that you're wanting to fix Mark Driscoll? I think that's what this
probably.
is about. Okay, that'd be a a Nobel Peace Prize situation.
I think pastors generally, I've heard pastors brag about how they meet with other pastors and stuff. And a lot of times it's not true. They're not even meeting with them. They might have met with them once, but pastors don't generally like to talk to other pastors because they compete with each other. Number one, they have differing views. They don't want to talk about that. You know, even the guy that I have breakfast with now, occasionally, we don't talk too much about religion. You know, it's just not the topic. You know, we talk more about school and stuff like that.
But when pastors get together, it's just a brag sesh. So ones that'll say they do it, they're all just like, who's got a bigger dick? Come on, let's brag. And it's that kind of a thing. And then it's kind of the bro thing to where like, yeah, we hate accountability, right? Yeah, cool. Let's keep going. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, can I tell my dad joke now?
Oh, okay. This is a good place to end on.
Well, you mentioned dick, so the guy was in the hospital. You gotta act like you've never heard this before, since you've already heard it.
He's in the hospital.
The guy's in the hospital, and he says, the nurse comes in, and he says, are my testicles black? And she said, I don't know. He said, well, can you tell me, are my testicles black? And she's like, okay. And she pulls his manhood up and cups his balls. He said, no, they're not black. Your testicles are not black. And he said, okay, I'm going to say this really slowly this time. Are my test results back? A good fake laugh.
Yeah. I don't know if it's that good a fake laugh, but yeah.
It's the best I can do today.
Oh, it's good. No, yes, we've heard the joke. Yes, Karl, thank you. This is edifying, and I think it answered our questions for how to fix the problems in the world today.
And you can always delete it out if you don't.
Physical touch. No. These are all important.
No. Yeah.
Again, if you don't have
someone
good
reach out and touch you.
Again, if the communication is good, but clearly the communication there was not good, so bad touch. But if we have good communication, then we can have good touch. So it could work out.
Communication, consent. And
it's because of my upbringing and everything I've gone through, but everything kind of comes back to significance for me. I want to be significant. And just that struggle I had. One therapist said, you wrote a book. And I said, well, it's not any good. I mean, nobody reads it and stuff like that. And telling her all the doubts and everything I have. And she said, but you wrote a book. And I said, yeah, I wrote a book, but blah, blah, blah. And she said, but you wrote a book. And this is for Stuart right now, because he just wrote a book called The Tribulation Survival Guide. But anyway,
I feel seen.
It's good.
It's that search for significance. We're told you got to change the world, you got to save the world, you got to, and really, what's significant is if I'm trying to change the world and I can't get along with my wife, then that's a problem, right? I mean, that's the significance is doing what you can, where you can, right? And I think I'm coming back to that idea that this is enough and that's enough, and keep writing, like you encouraged me to do earlier, which is very timely and good. And investing an hour in a podcast that who knows how many people will listen to, maybe not very many, but this is still significant and this is worth doing because it helps us, right? Talk about this shit, even if no one listens.
We're just doing this for therapy. Wait, does this go out? I thought we were just hanging out on like Zoom every once in a while.
It's on the internet. It's on the interweb.
I thought this was.
Oh, God!
Surprise.
Okay.
No, but I think that is something. Is you gotta start from that that core. Like you have to work your way out. Like all of. I think that's especially an American thing, but I think it's also a thing here. It's just this. First of all, I want it all. Like I want to be like the most famous person ever. I want to change the world, but I don't want to do any of the fucking work that like goes into that. I think that's the thing with like celebrity culture and all that kind of stuff right now, and I think that's why it's so destructive to people. But it's like. The realistic way that you can make like the most impactful change is probably just to like be a good person to your wife, or like take care of your kids, or make new friends and like love your neighbor. Yeah, that kind of shit.